Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are jumping right into the absolute powerhouse protagonists of the Assassin's Creed universe. We're going to map out their backstories, their totally distinct skill sets, and the vital roles they play in this secret centuries-long war that has literally shaped human history. We'll be looking at everything from how a stealthy 12th century monk stacks up against a raw Viking warrior to how all of their lives deeply tie back to the modern day. Let's get into it. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll kick things off with a centuries-long secret war. Then we'll break down the major historical archetypes, the masters of stealth, the brutal frontline warriors, and a truly terrifying ancient demigod anomaly. Finally, we'll tie it all together with the modern-day links. Section 1. The centuries-long secret war and the grand stakes of history. Okay, before we meet our historical heroes, we really have to understand how we're even viewing them in the first place, right? Enter the Animus. Developed by this shadowy megacorporation called Abstergo Industries, this highly advanced simulation device is our bridge. It allows modern individuals to literally experience the genetic memories of their ancestors. So, to be clear, it is not a time machine. It's basically a memory reader, harvesting history's deepest, darkest secrets that are hidden right inside human DNA. And at the heart of all these memories is a fierce, fundamental, ideological split. On one side, you have the Assassin Brotherhood, who seek peace by violently protecting humanity's absolute right to free will. On the flip side, you've got the Templar Order. They also want peace, but they believe humanity requires total, unwavering control to actually achieve stability. Two factions, both wanting peace, but with violently opposing methods. Every single protagonist we're covering today is a soldier on the front lines of this exact clash of ideals. Moving on to Section 2, the Masters of Stealth, the absolute purists of the Brotherhood. We absolutely have to start during the Third Crusade with Altaïr ibn Ahad. Fans and lore experts alike revere him as the greatest overall assassin for one insane reason. His defensive stealth was so utterly flawless that according to canon, he never took a single hit in combat. Just imagine that. Never wounded. In fact, if you took damage while playing as him, you were actually breaking synchronization with his true memory. The guy is the literal embodiment of the stealth purist. But then compare Altaïr to the legendary Ezio Auditore da Firenze from the Italian Renaissance, and you can see a massive evolution in tactics. While Altaïr relied on a single hidden blade for that flawless defense, Ezio innovated. He strapped on dual hidden blades. That one change allowed Ezio to shift from pure defense into these incredibly efficient strategic kill streaks. He was chaining assassinations together with absolutely zero wasted motion, just a remarkably diverse and polished operator. Now, when we talk about pure mechanical stealth, we cannot ignore Victorian London's Evie Fry. Evie had this literal chameleon ability, making her basically invisible to patrolling guards as long as she stood perfectly still. Combine that near invisibility with her mastery of throwing knives for silent, ranged takedowns and her super strict adherence to the silent tenets of the Creed? Yeah, she easily ranks as one of the most mechanically stealthy characters in the entire lore. Section 3. The brutal frontline warriors, otherwise known as the one-man armies. All right, take Connor Kenway during the American Revolution. He completely took the stealth rulebook and threw it right out the window. Often described by the community as a relentless proto-Terminator, Connor was the savage, brutal fighter who could just tank multiple gunshots with zero armor. He'd be stacking enemy bodies in mere moments with his iconic tomahawk. He didn't just assassinate a target, he literally eradicated entire battalions. And hey, the apple didn't fall far from the tree with his grandfather, the infamous pirate Edward Kenway. On paper, sure, Edward only has 26 confirmed ground assassinations. But you have to factor in his naval warfare aboard his ship, the Jackdaw. Edward was out there annihilating massive man-of-war ships, which, by the way, historically housed up to 800 crew members each. Because of that, Edward's true casualty count likely pushes well into the thousands. He was just a vastly different kind of lethal weapon. Which brings us to a really fun comparison of raw physical force. On one hand, we have the Viking Eivor Varnsdottir, whose entire combat style was built around versatile, wall-slamming power and heavy, raw force. Contrast that with Evie's twin brother, Jacob Fry. Operating in the dense, gritty streets of Victorian London, Jacob became an absolute brawler. He relied on fast-paced, multi-kill fisticuffs and gang warfare. Two completely different kinds of warriors, but both adopted perfectly to dominate their respective eras. Section 4. The Ancient Demigod Anomaly. This is where we shatter the power scale. Okay,
when we look purely at confirmed canonical on-screen kill counts within the games themselves, the numbers kind of speak for themselves. Cassandra absolutely dominates the chart with over 94 individual targets eliminated during the Peloponnesian War alone. Ezio comes in a very respectable second with 68, but Cassandra, she is operating on an entirely different level, and there's a very specific reason for that.
What makes Cassandra so terrifyingly effective is that she isn't just relying on training, she's relying on Issue precursor artifacts. She wields the Spear of Leonidas, which isn't just a sharp piece of metal. It actually grants her borderline supernatural abilities, like the devastating Hero Strike. It essentially gives her a combat spider sense, letting her anticipate enemy moves before they happen. As fans have perfectly described her, these artifacts allowed her to operate as a literal invisible murder beast. But you want to know her most staggering stats? 2,000. By wielding another artifact, the Staff of Hermes Trismegistus, Cassandra lived for over 2,000 years. So that 94 kill count we just talked about, that was just one single war in ancient Greece. Over 2 millennia of human history, her true kill count is utterly unfathomable. Without a doubt, she is the deadliest warrior in the franchise's entire history. Section 5. The modern-day links, anchoring the past to the present. So, the franchise's overarching modern narrative unfolds across 3 distinct eras. We kick off in 2012 with the Desmond Miles saga, then we evolve in 2014 into the Helix era, and finally we land in 2017 with the Lila Hassan saga. This whole modern timeline is essentially a massive, continuous race against time to find those powerful Issue artifacts before Abstergo can get their hands on them, all while trying to prevent literal global catastrophes. The Desmond Miles saga is really what kicked it all off. Desmond was just a bartender, a guy who actually ran away from his assassin heritage. But he was kidnapped by Abstergo because he happened to be the direct descendant of Altaïr, Ezio, and Connor. Through the Animus, he subsumed the incredible combat skills of his ancestors. He evolved from an everyday normal guy into a master assassin, and ultimately, he sacrificed his own life to prevent a catastrophic solar flare from wiping out all of humanity. Then, following Desmond's death, the Helix era introduced a new, truly terrifying concept. Abstergo actually figured out how to harvest DNA. This was a total game changer. It meant you no longer needed to be a direct descendant to view a specific memory. Through commercialized entertainment software, totally unnamed players and Templar analysts could explore anyone's genetic memories. The Animus had essentially been weaponized on a massive consumer scale. And that brings us to the Lila Hassan saga. Lila was this brilliant former Abstergo employee who went rogue and built her own portable Animus. Her journey is incredibly wild. I mean, she actually meets a 2,000-year-old Cassandra in the flesh and inherits that immortal Staff of Hermes. Ultimately, though, Lila has to make the ultimate sacrifice, giving up her physical body to enter a digital Izu afterlife known as the Grey, just to stabilize Earth's magnetic field. But the biggest, most shocking twist in the modern-day lore actually happens because of Lila's sacrifice. By entering the Grey, Lila inadvertently frees a man named Basim ibn Ishaq. Basim is a 9th century assassin from Baghdad, but plot twist, he is also the literal reincarnation of an ancient Issue trickster. He manages to use the Staff of Hermes to rejuvenate his physical body, dropping a highly dangerous ancient variable right into the middle of this 21st century modern war. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought. We've seen Altair's totally flawless stealth, Connor's brutal one-man rampages, and Cassandra's godlike mastery of artifacts. Based on centuries of this shadow warfare against the Templars, which combat approach do you think truly serves the Brotherhood best? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. Keep questioning the shadows around you, and I'll see you next time.